So we had an electrical fire. Hey folks, so a few days ago, an electrical fire broke out at the apartment. As you know, I film at my mom's house here, so it wasn't this area that was affected. So I just want to start off by saying I'm not posting this just like for sympathy or anything because it was contained. It was not a big fire at all. So I'm not like, looking for, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like I wanted to post this because it's something I'm going to talk about at the end about just trying to be smart. So I'm just going to start off with what was happening. I was watching TV at the apartment and I was just minding my own business. And actually, I was right about to edit a Merlot down video. And so my laptop was open. I was about ready to go and just start editing when all of a sudden I start hearing something that sounded like, when you take like a power drill and you like, or you hear somebody like drilling something into like a stud of a wall. It's kind of like that brrr, brrr noise. That's what I heard. So I thought it was one of our neighbors, maybe somebody who lived beside us that was like drilling into their wall. But it just was not quite the same as that. That's kind of what it sounded like. So I got up and I opened. Our air conditioner and our water heater are in like this closet in the apartment, and so the air conditioner is on top, and then the water heater's on bottom. So I got up and I opened the closet and I looked, and the sound was coming from the bottom. So at the time, I didn't know that that was the water heater. Sorry. Anyway, so I thought that it was the air conditioner. And so actually, I was like, the muscle was at work. So I was actually filming like this strange noise, like thinking, I was going to send him this little video with like the noise happening. And so I was just kind of waiting on this noise to happen again. I was going to be like, maybe we should call maintenance and get them to look at the air conditioner because I thought that the whole thing was the air conditioner because it was like, one on top, one on bottom. I just thought they were all connected as one thing, and I knew that the air conditioner was in the closet. I didn't realize that it was the water heater. So as I'm filming this, all of a sudden, like these orange, this orange glow illuminates, and I hear popping and popping and popping. So I realized that what that sound was, and whenever you watch a movie and there's like something where like the electricity malfunctions around water, usually you hear that like voltage shocking. That's what that was. It was that noise. It wasn't drilling in the wall. So the water heater started glowing from the inside, and I was like, "Oh, those are flames. That's not supposed to happen." At this time, I still thought it was the air conditioner, but I'm just gonna call it the water heater because now I know what it is. So it was glowing and popping, and I set down my phone. I was like, "Oh crap!" And I took about maybe 5 seconds just trying to figure out what to do. And so I said, "Okay, first thing I should do." In my head was try and contain it so that nothing gets truly like out of hand. So I was like, oh crap, where in this apartment is there a fire extinguisher? Because in my old apartment, when my dad helped me move up north years and years ago, he bought me a fire extinguisher to keep in my apartment because it was an old building that had been refurbished into little individual studios. So it didn't have any fire extinguishers that I could find. So my dad bought me one. So I always had one in my apartment. But at this new apartment, like I hadn't really noticed any fire extinguishers anywhere, and the muscle hadn't bought any. And so I was like, okay, well, where would they keep a fire extinguisher? Probably in a communal area. So I went outside, and of course, hanging off the wall was a fire extinguisher. And later on, I realized that every building has one on each floor. So I went outside and I got the fire extinguisher, and they're made real simple, right? You're supposed to just be able to use it without really having to know how to work anything. And so I took my time. I was looking at the fire extinguisher, the thing's still popping and glowing right in front of me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So like that's, don't panic, try and think, calm yourself down, because like my heart was beating out of my chest. I was like, You know, it's the middle of the day. What if this fire gets out of control? I need to do something. So I'm sitting there looking at the fire extinguisher. I'm thinking, okay, here's a pin. I'm going to pull that out because that's obviously blocking something. There's the hose. Okay, I got the hose. And I just walk up to the water heater, the fire, and I just start going at the fire extinguisher and I press it down and powder comes out. Okay, so I did not realize, because I think the only time, you know, I've ever actually seen a fire extinguisher in use is in movies. And for some reason, I always thought that they had foam. And I want to say that, you know, like the memory of a fire extinguisher from a movie in my mind is, I think it's from the movie Look Who's Talking, when John Travolta puts out a fire in his kitchen. And I want to say that that was foam, but it was powder that came out. So all this powder comes out. I'm like coughing. And the water heater is still kind of glowing inside. So every time it starts glowing back up, I just spray it again with the fire extinguisher and the powder. So once, you know, I sprayed it a couple times, then I was like, okay, you know, if it's still glowing, I need to call 911. So I called 911 and the guy was like, hi, you know, what's your emergency? And I was like, there's a fire. I need the fire department. There is going to be an electrical fire. It's the air conditioner. It's glowing red and it's popping and it's smoking. And I've gotten the fire extinguisher, but it's still going because it was. And, you know, he was like, okay, help is on the way. And I was like, do I need to stay on the phone with you? Because he didn't hang up. He was like, you can, but I've already, you know, I've sent the fire people on your way, so you don't have to stay on the phone. I was like, okay, I'll hang up so that I can keep my eye on this fire. So, you know, I'd keep like kind of glowing up and I'd keep spraying it every time I did that. And then I tried to get in contact with the muscle. His at work, he has to put his phone in a locker. So I tried calling and I texted him, emergency, fire. And like, you know, we don't joke around about that stuff. So I thought that that would get the point across. But, you know, 5 minutes went by. He never called me back. So maybe it wasn't even 5 minutes. It, like, you know, I'm trying to think, like, how long did all of this take? And I don't think it really took that long. So maybe a couple minutes went by and I was like, screw it, I'm going to call his work. And of course, I got stuck in the phone tree. And, you know, it's like, say this for this department, say this for this department. And I'm like yelling into the phone. I'm not yelling, but I'm like very agitated. And I'm like, you know, oh, this stupid phone tree. And of course, it messes up, you know, my speech that I give it. And then it's like, let's try the numbers. So I'm like, whatever. I finally get through. And I speak to one of his coworkers, and I'm like, "Hi, is the muscle working?" I use his name. It's an emergency. And then so I got in contact with the muscle, and right as soon as he answered the phone, the fire people showed up. So the fire department showed up maybe within 4 or 5 minutes from me calling 911. So that was really good. I was actually really surprised how quickly they got there, and I'm really glad that they got there so quickly. So the fire people are walking up the stairs and they're asking me questions, but I just got on the phone with the muscle after trying to get in contact with him. So I'm kind of like holding him here and talking to the fire department so that he hears that there has been an electrical fire. And then once, you know, the fire department, they didn't need me out, you know, was telling the muscle that he should probably come take a look and everything. So the fire department goes in, you know, they're waiting on maintenance to see, because the electrical outlet box, this, what do you call it, the breaker box wasn't labeled, and they wanted to turn off the breaker for the water heater. So we had to wait on maintenance to get there, and you know, they made sure everything was fine, that there was no more fire, that the electricity had been cut off to the water heater. And you know, like one of the guys like pulled me aside, and I think that was just kind of get me out of the way, which I respect. You know, I kind of understood, like, oh yeah, I'm kind of standing in the doorway just like to see if what's going on. I should probably move out of the way. So, you know, if that ever happens to you, just, you know, follow the guys. They know what they're doing. So I gave him my information and the muscle's information, and then the muscle finally showed up. And then also one of the property managers, she came up and she was very nice. You know, she she said she was new, and that, you know, she was glad that I was there because, you know, it was the middle of the day. It was about 4 o'clock when the smoke started happening and the fire broke out. And so people were still at work. You know, it's the middle of the day, and she just said that she had worked at other properties. She was new at this property, but she had worked at other properties and she had seen just, you know, buildings with big holes in them. And so she was glad that I was there to help put the fire out and call 911. So after the fire department leaves, you know, I go to the leasing office and I give them my incident report, and then the muscle and I go back to the apartment. So when I go into the apartment, I realize like my shoes, my clothes, my hair, the entire floor is covered in a very thick, like yellowish white dust. And that was from the fire extinguisher. And so the leasing office said that they would send a cleaner, to help clean up, and that they would replace the water heater the next day, which all of that happened. And so the muscle had to take off a couple days just to deal with everything. But, we got it all cleaned up, and, they replaced our water heater the next day. And so everything worked out pretty well. Now, a couple things that I just kind of wanted to make this video actually about. Like, that was the story, but this is kind of what I take away from it. So, thing number one, watch out for scammers, because when we were in the leasing office and giving our incident reports and everything, there was this guy we heard come into like the main building, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for the owner of the apartment that was on fire." And so the muscle went to go check on it, and it was this guy. He had a shirt on. It said first response, and then he gave the muscle a card, and he was like, if you need any cleanup, let us know. And the muscle was like, "Was it going to cost anything? Because it's not our fault that the water heater was faulty." And he was like, "Well, you can go through your insurance." And then he left, and so we were just kind of like, we shouldn't have to pay for anything. It's not our fault. It's just an old faulty water heater. That's the apartment's job. And then so as we were leaving, the maintenance guy for the actual apartment complex, he was like, "Hey man, I think that guy was like, what did he say? A scanner chaser." So I think, because he wasn't really a first responder, he wasn't with the fire department, he wasn't with anybody like, by the county or the state or anything. So apparently, what I'm guessing he meant by that is that there are people out there that listen to scanners and they try and, capitalize or make money off of, things that are going on that people have to deal with, like fires. So just be wary of that if somebody's trying to get you to buy something like cleanup services. Yeah, no, like if you live in an apartment complex, the complex should take care of all of the cleaning and the replacement of things. So don't get scammed. Second thing, I was like shaken for the rest of the day. Like, I was kind of afraid to like go to bed because I don't know, it wasn't the actual fire that scared me. Like, what worries me now, like what gives me like the most dread whenever I think about the incident, is what could have happened, because I contained it. It did not spread at all. It was just contained inside of the actual water heater. But what scares me is all the what ifs. What if, because I was planning to come shoot a video that day. Like, I was dressed and ready to go. I had a dress on, my makeup was on. I was going to edit a video, like start editing, and then I was maybe going to like go to my mom's house here and film. So like, I was kind of like deciding, should I go now or should I just go later? So I waited. But like, the what if is, what if I had just left? Because I was ready to go. The second what if is, what if it had happened and we were there, but it's at night, because the closet that holds the water heater, is right here, but then you have the bedroom over here right beside it, but the door, to get out of the apartment, and we're on the second floor, is all the way over there. So what if the fire had broken out and we were trapped inside at night and we wouldn't be able to get out? So that's like another what if that could have happened. And the third what if is, what if it had happened in somebody else's apartment? Like I said, it was the middle of the day. Most people are at work. I'm not, because I'm a teacher. So I kind of have like the days off, and I work on my YouTube during the summertime. So if it had just been the person below us or the person beside us or anybody in the same building, that it had happened to in the middle of the day, if they weren't there to contain it, it could have gone through the entire building. Like, that could have happened so quickly. And then the fourth what if is, if somebody had been there to contain it in somebody else's apartment. Like, I'm kind of glad that it was me, because I feel like I'm not somebody that gets really, out of, like, I don't want to say out of control. That's not the right word. But I'm not somebody who freaks out. Like, when I had my first car accident when I was 14, somebody T-boned me, and like, I had my sister in the passenger seat. She was bawling. My dad showed up. He was angry and yelling, but I was just kind of like, okay, well, this happened. I'll lie. Like, I'm not somebody that's gonna like freak out. And so I'm glad that it was me. I'm glad that it was me who was there to take care of it. I'm glad that it wasn't, like a high school kid or a middle school kid off of school who would just kind of maybe not know what to do. I'm glad that, it was, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I know that I did the best that I could. to handle the situation. Like, I try and do that so that I'm thinking, like, clearly. I kind of like had to tell myself, for those 5 seconds, right when I realized what was happening, I was like, okay, first thing you should do, contain it. Second thing, call 911, then call the muscle. Like, boom, boom, boom. And that's what I did. So, what if somebody didn't know how to respond? What if somebody got super scared or spooked out and like just ran out of the apartment complex and just let it burn? You know, so like those are just my what ifs now that I think, oh man, you know, that's scarier to me. Like the thought of that, those four things, is scarier to me than just the fire breaking out. If we're there and we can contain it, we know where the fire extinguishers are. Like the actual fire isn't that scary to me. But those what ifs. What if we're asleep? What if I hadn't been there? What if somebody else doesn't know what to do? Things like that. So yeah, like that's what gives me dread. That's what still kind of shakes me a little bit, when I think about it. I was sitting there in those 5 seconds. It could have been 10 seconds. It was all kind of just happening. But in those few seconds before I actually acted, I was thinking to myself, okay, is this, if you get the fire extinguisher and if you call 911, is that an overreaction? Like, what if you make a mess with the fire extinguisher and you ruin everything? And what if you call the fire department and it wasn't really that big of a deal? Like, please don't have those what ifs. If something dangerous is happening, please do everything in your power to prevent it from happening. I was thinking, oh, maybe I can just handle this, just wait for it. No, it's not. No, it's still smoking. Maybe I can just handle it by extinguishing. No, it's still smoking. So if there's a dangerous situation, please trust your instincts. Don't worry, if you think like you're going to be a burden. Don't worry if you think you're going to make a mess with a fire extinguisher. And this can apply to lots of things. If, you're walking home late at night and you just get that gut feeling that somebody's following you, get your phone out, and if you need to, call 911. Like, that's what they're there for, is to help protect you and keep you safe. No matter what situation, if it's a fire, if it's, bad weather, if a hurricane's coming and you feel like you need to get out of, harm's way, do that. Because if you got hurt, if somebody died, like, it's not worth it, looking back and saying, oh, I should have done this. Oh, my apartment complex burnt down. Oh my gosh, why didn't I call 911? So definitely trust your instincts. Don't worry if you think that you're overreacting in a bad situation. You need to do what you need to do. And that's my main point that I took away from all this, is that I need to stop doubting myself. I need to trust my instincts. And I think a lot of people need to do that too. I think it'll keep you safe. And I'm not saying be scared everywhere you go, but try and use a clear head. Assess the situation and realize when something's out of your control and that you need to get help. That's what I'm saying. Get help when you need to get help. Well, folks, that is my fire story. Like I said, it could have been so much worse. So much worse. And, I don't want to make light of other people's tragedy at all. I made this video because I wanted to talk about, watch out for people who are trying to scam you after a tragedy. Not that this was a tragedy, but watch out for people who are trying to make money off of you. Trust your instincts. If you think you're in danger, get help. Definitely get help if you think you're in danger. And I hope that you learned from my story. Like if you hear that random drilling noise, check it out. Like, if you're in your house, maybe not in an apartment complex where people might be drilling into the wall next to you, but if you're in your house and you start hearing like this weird popping noise, go check it out, grab a fire extinguisher, and make sure that you don't have an electrical fire going on. So some of my things are still like covered in extinguisher dust. The cleaning lady, she cleaned the counters and the floors, but there are still some things like my backpack, that I keep my laptop in, that has like dust on it still, and I'm trying to just get it off, but it's fabric, so it's gonna take a while. And then, so I mentioned my laptop because I was like, okay, what things do I need to take out of this apartment right now? Because once I realized that fire extinguisher was shooting powder everywhere, I mean, the whole place was covered in like this white dust. So I was like, oh crap, is that gonna mess up my brand new computer? So I grabbed my computer and I took it outside and I set it on the steps. And so I was like, okay, I need my like official documents, important papers. I need my purse because it's got like my license and my money and stuff. And my phone. Like, those were my essentials. So it might always be a good idea just to like in case of an emergency like that, just have a list of things that you would want to just grab with you. And so the apartment's small, and we keep most things by the door in the living room area, so it would be easy to grab those. But I was thinking, what would the muscle want me to grab if this whole thing goes up in flames? I didn't know. So that might be a good question to ask, your family, your significant other, or whatever. Ask them, hey, if something broke out like a fire or a natural disaster, what would you want me to grab for you? Like the most essential things. So what caused the fire? It was obviously something electrical, but we were just kind of looking in like the closet where the air conditioner and the water heater were, and there was so much water dripping from the air conditioner. I don't know if that's what caused it. Maybe because, you're not supposed to keep, I've been researching it, like, you're not supposed to let any water near any type of, electrical machinery, right? Obviously. But so I don't know why they put an air conditioner that can leak condensation above a water heater that they're known to like be very dangerous. So I think because that air conditioner was just like dripping, it was dripping all over, and I took a video of it. So this is the water heater, little burnt pieces there. Also look at the floor. It's covered in the fire extinguisher dust, which is lovely. It's all over everything. It even got into the trash/laundry room over there. So it's all burnt out. It was very scary. And so above the water heater is the AC. Okay, and the AC sits on this wooden platform, but if we take a closer look, that's the AC filter, and it is drenched and it's just dripping on top of the water heater. And actually there's this pool down here. You can't see it. Well, you can, but you probably won't notice it until it drips. Right on the inner ring there's like a pool of water, and the white stuff is, again, the fire extinguisher dust. But like this right here, that's like a pool all around the water heater, and it's dripping inside the water heater. So it's dripping all over. But it was just dripping, and I don't know if that had been happening before the fire or if the fire caused that dripping, but I'm thinking that the water from the air conditioner leaking onto the water heater caused a short in the electricity. And so we told them, when we called, to ask when they were going to bring the next one or the new water heater the next day. We asked, hey, can you please look at the air conditioner? It looks like it's leaking really bad. And they said that would be like the first thing that they do before they install the new water heater. So they did fix that. It wasn't leaking, in the past couple days. Although in one pipe there is a little condensation that I've noticed, and we've called them and told them about that too. Just because I want to be safe, like I said, if you suspect that something is wrong, get help and try and fix it. I'm just thankful that it wasn't worse than it was. I'm just thankful that I was there, that the fire department showed up quickly. They knew what to do, obviously they're trained, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Well, folks, that was my electrical fire story. I hope it was entertaining, and I do hope that, you take some of my experiences and just, use them because, yeah, like I said, trust your instincts and get help when you need it. I will see you guys next time. My name's Allie. Y'all have a good one and be safe. Bye.